Hi everyone, Pickled Dill here. I just want to begin by saying thank you to everyone who has supported this series and helped this channel to grow. Special thanks to UBX123, plus Ultraman and anyone else who has shared the last part, since I never imagined it would get so much attention so quickly. However, here comes the annoying bit where I beg you to subscribe since research shows that it works. So sorry in advance, but buckle in. Currently, only 11.5% of you are subscribed, but if you hit that subscribe button, then the channel will continue to grow and gain access to useful features like a community tab and live streaming. And best of all, it costs you nothing, takes literally 1 second to do, and means the world to me. Plus, while you're down there, why not drop a cheeky like to tell the YouTube algorithm and me that you want more content like this? But now I've abased myself at the whim of the algorithm, allow me to reiterate how truly grateful I am for all of your support, and how excited I am to continue this journey with all of you. Now, let's get back to what if Goku was Guardian of Earth. A month has passed since Raditz and Goku made contact with the Saiyans, and for every moment since the Z-Fighters have awaited their arrival with bated breath. Thanks to Raditz and the power of the Pendulum Room, they have been able to train with a facsimile of Vegeta and Nappa, and so believe that as a group they stand a good chance if the Saiyans prove to be hostile. However, after seeing Goku, Gohan and Raditz's growth in the span of a year, they are also aware that the two incoming aliens may have grown in power beyond their wildest dreams. With this in mind, Goku and Raditz continue to train together, while the others return to their lives, believing they have achieved as much as they will be able to before the arrival of the Saiyans. And here I feel is a good time to talk about power levels. I admit I had a bit of trouble calculating these powers since the training the humans and Saiyans underwent is unlike anything they did in canon, which I could have used as a reference. Thankfully my friend plus Ultraman, who is a better and more experienced DBZ what-iffer than me, came to my rescue, and together we were able to conclude that the power levels would be as follows. The weakest would be Chaozu at 732, since he refused to enter the time chamber, and so only gained a little bit more power than in canon thanks to the presence of a stronger teacher and training partners. Next up would be Yajirobe at 1746, then Chi-Chi at 1843. After her would be the three main human Z-Fighters, Yamcha with a power level of 3000, Krillin with 3150, and topping the lot, Tien with 3300. Though still a child, Gohan would have a power level of 8050 by virtue of his extended stay in the hyperbolic time chamber, as well as his immense hybrid potential. As for Goku and Raditz, well, you'll find out their powers soon in a way much more fun than me just listing off numbers. When the fated day comes, it is Goku, Gohan, Chi-Chi and Raditz who sense the Saiyans first from the lookout. Thankfully, they are still roughly on par with Raditz's estimations, but nonetheless, Goku instructs Chi-Chi and Gohan to stay behind, since the Saiyans are meant to be coming in peace. Gohan protests, but Goku kneels down to look his son in the eye and tells him that Earth needs someone up here to watch over it, and should the worst possible outcome occur, he and his mother will be the planet's last hope. Tears sparkle in the boy's eyes at this thought, and so Raditz steps in, patting him on the head and saying that there probably won't be a fight anyway, so all he's missing out on is boring grown-up talk. In spite of these claims, Goku does reach out telepathically to his friends, urging them to join him and Raditz at the wasteland they gave the Saiyans as coordinates for a landing site, though instructs them to hang back a bit, since they don't want to make the volatile Saiyans think they've walked into an ambush. And so it is that Tien, Chaozu, Yamcha and Krillin land a ways away, while Goku and Raditz touch down directly in front of Vegeta and Nappa's pods. Goku is dressed in full Guardian regalia for the meeting, even carrying his old power pole, while Raditz is in a fully restored version of his Saiyan armor, courtesy of Mr. Popo's magic. The pair cut a striking figure, but as an extra precaution, they keep their powers suppressed. Vegeta and Nappa eventually clamber out from their pods, giving the brothers matching haughty expressions, their noses wrinkled in disgust as if a foul smell is filling the air. Nappa growls that he expected the legendary Super Saiyan to be taller and a lot less scrawny, but Vegeta silences him with a scoff, saying that Raditz's claim was obviously a lie to get them here, but unluckily for the runt, they're going to kill him for that deception. Nappa leers menacingly, but Raditz smirks that Vegeta wouldn't be able to if he tried, goading him to take a reading of their power levels with his scouter. Vegeta taps the button, if only to shut the mouthy mid-class up, and it blows up in his face. Literally. The scouter explodes the second Raditz stops concealing his power, and Vegeta staggers backwards, the number he saw just before detonation seemingly burned into his retina. Smirk widening, Raditz tells Vegeta that that's right, his power level is now 31,000, almost double the prince's, making him the strongest thing on this planet. Goku complains that he's only 1,000 behind Raditz, and that's because he focused more on building Raditz's power than increasing his own, not to mention those 2 Zenkais he got from their initial battle and then the Ultra Divine Water. Raditz just chuckles back that that's too bad, so sad, but he's still the world's strongest. By now Vegeta has had enough of this posturing, and so orders Nappa to put this blowhard's words to the test. The big brute rushes at Raditz, and the former weakling swats him aside with a single hit, sending him careening into a rock face. He then advises Nappa not to get back up, since as it stands he's nearly 10 times the bald man's power, so there'd be no challenge in beating him to a pulp, even if he has it coming for always looking down his nose at him. Nappa snarls that Raditz thinks he's so tough, but he wouldn't stand a chance against the mighty great ape. Raditz says that Nappa may be right, though only because he'd lose his mind if he went into that state. However, he believes Kakarot in his base form could still beat Nappa as a great ape. Nappa cackles darkly that he'd like to see the pipsqueak try, while Goku enthusiastically replies that if the form is as strong as Raditz says, he'd love to try fighting him in it. Nappa says it's Kakarot's funeral, and so implores Vegeta to create an artificial moon to allow him to transform. Vegeta begrudgingly agrees, and so forms the power ball in his hand, but Raditz yells at him to wait, before sitting down in a meditative position and closing his eyes. Vegeta jeers at Raditz, asking if he can't stand to watch Nappa obliterate his little brother, but Raditz just grins that he'll still be watching in ways that Vegeta cannot even imagine, and this is just so he doesn't ape out and cause unnecessary damage to the planet. Vegeta calls such sentimentality pathetic, but throws the orb into the air, allowing himself and Nappa to transform. At the sight of Great Ape Vegeta and Nappa, the humans come rushing in, assuming something has gone terribly wrong, but Goku tells them all to stay back, since this is just a little contest between himself and one of the Saiyans, so they can't interfere. As he takes a seat on a nearby mesa, Great Ape Vegeta lambasts Raditz, saying that he should have known he'd have backup waiting in the wings, since once a coward, always a coward. But Krillin, showing more guts than sense, yells back at the giant simian that they're the cowards if they need to resort to tricks, like becoming giant monkeys in order to challenge Goku. The other humans add their voices to Krillin's, and Raditz feels an overwhelming wave of fondness towards them. The battle is then allowed to begin, with Nappa lumbering towards his much smaller opponent, and swinging a fist downwards to crush him. But even with mental control over the form, the movements are still brutish and obvious, allowing the seasoned martial artist Goku to leap out of the way, before landing on Nappa's hairy forearm and running up it towards his shoulder. As he does so, Goku unsheathes his power pole and swings it in a wide circle, before bringing it down on the crook of Nappa's elbow, making the big monkey scream. He then fires off a pair of eye-beams at Goku, causing the youngest Saiyan to jump off and fly up towards Nappa's face, extending the power pole until it strikes the big brute between the eyes. As Nappa clutches his face, Goku delivers a swift scissor kick to his snout before following up with a punch that draws blood. Vegeta snarls that this shouldn't be possible. Even if Kakarot's power is roughly equivalent to Raditz's, Nappa in his Great Ape form should be stronger. But Tien speaks up this time, saying that Goku isn't just a warrior, he's a disciple of martial arts, and all these years of honing his technique have put him well above an artless bruiser. Being spoken down to by human filth really gets under Vegeta and Nappa's skin. Nappa declares he's going to end things with his ultimate technique. He then charges up a brake cannon in his mouth. Knowing that he can't dodge this one, Goku drops down to the ground and begins charging up a Kamehameha, before firing it just as Nappa fires his own attack. The two ki blasts meet in the air between them, seeming to be a perfect match in power, until inch by inch, Nappa's begins to push through. This is where the difference in Goku and Nappa's strength becomes most apparent. While the giant cannot match the Guardian in terms of technique, he can overwhelm him with raw power, and so little by little the brake cannon pushes the Kamehameha back. Raditz is awed by the power on display by these two fighters, until another immense power catches his attention. Gohan, thanks to a year and a half spent with his uncle, has developed a slight Saiyanish streak in comparison to his canon counterpart, and so when mixed with his innate good nature and desire to help people, he is very unhappy with the idea of being left behind at the lookout. As a result, when he feels his father's power flare up as well as Nappa's, he does not hesitate to leap into action, rushing off to save Goku before Chi-Chi can stop him. However, one slight problem does present itself, that being the artificial moon. Though Raditz had warned of the dangers a full moon could pose to an untrained Saiyan during one of their many chats, Gohan had not been expecting to see one in the middle of the day, and so is caught unaware when one looms out from over a cliff, hovering just above where Goku and the others are. Blutz waves fill the boy's system, and he feels his mind slipping as an almost feverish delirium takes over him, mixing with an unquenchable fury. His body then begins to stretch and grow fur, that is until a vast shadow falls over Gohan. Unky Raditz, having sensed Gohan, puts himself between the boy and the artificial moon, blocking the reception of any further Blutz waves, and thus halting the transformation. The fur begins to dissipate, but the same cannot be said for the blood rage, and so with an incensed roar, Gohan begins to claw at Raditz's chest plate, not sure why he is angry at the big man, but knowing with all his being that he is. Raditz tries to hold the boy close to wait out the transformation, but this just exposes an arm for Gohan to sink his teeth into. Raditz tries to use his gauntlet to deflect this, but Gohan just bites cleanly through it, drawing blood. As the long-haired Saiyan howls in pain, Goku has to force himself not to look back, knowing that even the slightest distraction will surely cost him whatever small resistance he has against Nappa's onslaught. And so the two sons of Bardock continue their individual battles, with Raditz trying to calm Gohan down as he rages, while Goku tries to hold back a blast which could possibly destroy him, and even the planet if he is not careful. However, neither are especially successful, since Nappa seems to only be gaining strength from the pained expressions on Goku's face as he struggles, a sadistic grin splitting his great ape face. While even when the humans come to Raditz's aid, they are unable to completely shield Gohan from the Blutz waves reflecting off the ground, and even some of their own bald heads. Raditz tells them to back off, since they'll only wind up getting themselves hurt, knowing the only way to fully purge the trace amounts of Blutz waves in Gohan's system is to destroy the fake moon. That or cut off the boy's tail, though for someone with pride in his Saiyan heritage, this is simply unthinkable. Likewise, Goku knows what he must do, and so drawing on his reserves of strength, powers up his blast, turning it into a super Kamehameha. The blue beam then doubles in size, and this is enough to blow away the brake cannon, and even knock Great Ape Nappa off his feet. As the brute falls, Raditz hurls a Saturday crush at the Powerball, the pinkish orb shattering the blue one, causing a man, not a monkey, to hit the ground. While at that same moment, Gohan goes limp in his uncle's arms, the Blutz fever lifting at last. Vegeta fumes at his lackey being showed up, and declares that Raditz cheated like the coward he is, but Goku stands in defense of his brother, saying that Nappa was already beaten. Knowing that this is probably true, the prince turns his vitriol on Goku instead, saying that he is hardly the legendary Super Saiyan, since even if he is strong, he is nothing compared to Frieza, so they're still up a creek without a paddle. Raditz, landing beside Goku, says that this isn't true, since the Earthlings have devised a form of training that allows a warrior to grow far beyond their birth power, citing his own growth as an example. Vegeta is loath to accept this, especially from a former underling, but his hatred for Frieza does manage to outweigh his disdain for Raditz, at least for the moment, and so through gritted teeth, he demands that the brothers explain. Goku and Raditz recount the story of their year of training, though they wisely exclude any mention of the hyperbolic time chamber, and instead put more emphasis on the growth they had by sparring and using training weights. Vegeta and a barely conscious Nappa reluctantly agree to try this, though they mention that increased gravity would likely yield better results than mere weights, since they're going to need to grow hundreds of times stronger if they have any chance against Frieza. Yamcha offers to try and have Bulma manufacture something like that, and Vegeta scoffs that he doubts an Earthwoman could manage such a thing, but orders Yamcha to have her try. Goku tells Vegeta that he can't talk to people like that if they're going to be allies, but Vegeta smirks that if Kakarot has an issue with him, he can settle it with his fists. Goku, however, is too wiped out from his fight with Nappa to do anything of the sort, but laughs that even if he wasn't, it wouldn't be much fun, since judging by how the other Saiyans fight, he figures Vegeta wouldn't have any martial arts technique either. He then hits on the bright idea to have the two Saiyans train under Master Roshi while waiting for Bulma to build her gravity thingamajig. The humans give Goku a look, as if asking if he's sure that's such a good idea, but Goku beams that it'll help their growth later on, while also helping them acclimate to Earth. Not wanting to argue with the Guardian, Krillin volunteers to give the Master some forewarning and asks them to give him a few minutes head start. Goku nods, and so waits until 5 minutes after Krillin has departed to begin leading Vegeta and Nappa to Kame House. Raditz comes along too, not trusting his former comrades not to attack Goku while he's weakened, then try and conquer the planet, since that's exactly what he would have done when he first arrived. However, the Saiyans are on their best behaviour, or at least they don't try to murder anyone on the flight over, and as the group near Kame House, Gohan awakens in his arms. Through a pounding headache, Gohan asks his uncle what happened, and Raditz smirks that the boy had his first taste of fighting like a true Saiyan warrior. This stirs something in Gohan's mind, and like pieces of a bad dream, he begins to recall his actions during the haze of his cancelled transformation. Looking over at Raditz's arm, he sees that it's still bleeding with his teeth imprints in the gauntlet, and so tries to apologize. The long-haired Saiyan chuckles that it was only a flesh wound, and he's proud of the boy for his strength. But perhaps it would be worth getting some training on how to control his great ape form, so that he doesn't have to continuously double as a chew toy. When the group touch down on the beach outside Kame House, Krillin and Roshi are waiting for them, with the old turtle hermit greeting Goku warmly, having not seen him since he left to become Guardian. Goku in turn beams at his old mentor, asking if he could help train their new allies in martial arts. Roshi agrees, though he doesn't much like the aura coming off of Vegeta and Nappa, and so asks if Goku or one of the others could stay to lend a hand and make sure the two Saiyans don't cause any trouble. Raditz, much more humble than he was when presented with Korin's training, offers to keep his former comrades in check, saying it would also be good for him to learn from the man who trained Kakarot. Gohan eagerly states that if Unky Raditz is staying, he will too, which Goku approves of, hoping his son will learn, grow, and have as much fun as he did under Master Roshi's tutelage. The Guardian then departs to return to his duties, leaving the three Saiyans, Gohan, and Roshi to begin their training. Roshi attempts to put the group through the same sort of training he put Goku and Krillin through as kids, but Vegeta and Nappa refuse to engage with such foolish activities, with even Raditz finding it embarrassing to deliver milk and scour the countryside for rocks, though he at least does his best for Gohan's sake. Recognizing that this is getting him nowhere fast, Roshi ultimately settles upon instructing them in just the basic forms of martial arts, though warns that until they can truly humble themselves like Goku, they will never become masters of the craft. Speaking of Goku, he is in the doghouse with Chi-Chi for leaving their 5-year-old son with a pair of untrustworthy space murderers and an old pervert, and so without even her to train with, he is forced to look elsewhere for new ways to improve himself. Thankfully, his status as Guardian provides our hero with just the resource he needs, in the form of his ability to commune with King Kai. Though he cannot afford to go to the Kai's planet at this point in time, he is still able to undergo a new stage of training via telepathy, while still monitoring the Earth to keep an eye on the Saiyans. Back with them, Vegeta and Nappa have continued to be problematic students for the Turtle Hermit, having the physical aptitude for martial arts, but not the disposition. Both are arrogant beyond belief, but on top of that they each also possess individual flaws that make them difficult to teach. In Nappa's case, he is a great brute who fails to grasp the finesse and balance needed, while Vegeta is a roiling cauldron of impatience, who constantly challenges everything, from how this training will help him kill Frieza, to the value of martial arts as a discipline in comparison to raw strength training. Roshi tries his best to be patient with them, appealing to the discipline Nappa learned as a soldier to help him improve, while answering every question and challenge Vegeta hurls at him. Through this, he imparts his history as a martial artist, from his time as a student under Master Mutaito to the return of Piccolo and the climactic clash with Piccolo Jr. that led to Goku becoming Guardian. Though this has little impact on Vegeta or Nappa beyond the concept of Dragon Balls intriguing them, it does inspire Gohan and Raditz, who have worked continuously to improve themselves under Master Roshi. As a result, Gohan and Raditz complete the training that took Goku and Krillin 8 months in a fraction of that time, and so return to the lookout well before the other two. This infuriates Vegeta, who can see the gap between himself and the family of lowborn trash growing wider by the day, and so he redoubles his efforts, if only to assert his dominance, and that he is truly the best of the Saiyans. This forces Nappa to match his liege's pace, and so before long, they reach a point where Roshi has nothing more that he can teach them, at least not while they refuse to let go of their foolish pride. By this time, Bulma has completed the gravity machine, and Goku and Mr. Popo have combined their efforts to convert the nigh indestructible inside of the lookout into a training area. Finally, the pair of Saiyans are allowed to visit the home of the Guardian of Earth, being escorted by Popo's carpet from Kame House directly to the lookout. Neither are especially impressed, having seen the decadence of the Saiyan royal palace, and some of the Cold family's palaces on various worlds, though Nappa does note with something resembling praise that those flower beds would likely grow some incredible Cybermen. They are then led inside and into the gravity room, where Goku, Gohan, Raditz, Chi-Chi, Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin are all waiting. Goku tells the group that the 9 of them will be working together to prepare for an eventual battle with Frieza. He then adds for the newcomers' benefit that this simply won't be constant sparring, since that's not how Earthlings grow. It will also include exercise, meditation, and practicing techniques, similar to what they did with Roshi, though much more intense and under constantly increasing gravity. The humans then told the Saiyans that thanks to having a head start, they have acclimated to 10 times Earth's natural gravity already, though they neglect to mention the time chamber being a factor, and so receive nothing but grunts of bemusement from the Saiyans in return. And so a new time of training begins. Naturally, Vegeta and Nappa ignore the humans, and immediately try to challenge Goku and Raditz, but the brothers prove that they are still leagues ahead of the pair, and to add insult to injury, Raditz tells them with heavy disdain in his voice not to challenge him again, since they are not worth his time, and he would rather train with Gohan, or Kakarot, both of whom are more warriors than the pair could ever hope to be. This stings Nappa, who had always felt at least some camaraderie towards his fellow Saiyan warrior, even if he did belittle him to stay on the prince's good side, while Vegeta is incensed at being looked down upon. As a result, they train the hardest out of anyone there, and try to push the gravity of the chamber higher than what the others can handle at every chance they can get, in pursuit of their own gains. This wins them no fans among the Earthlings, who begin to wonder if Goku and Raditz are stronger than them, why do they need these two at all? As much as he hates to do it, Raditz comes to the pair's defense here, saying that they can't fathom the true horror that is Frieza, and that they need every asset they can get, since even together at full strength, it may not be enough to stop the tyrant. Sadly, the truth of Raditz's words become apparent just a few days later. While resting between gravity training sessions, and planning how they might draw Frieza to Earth when the time comes, the humans, Goku, Gohan, and Raditz all feel a sudden chill go down their spines. Among his possessions, Nappa's scouter blares before exploding just like Vegeta's did, and though no one says it, everyone knows what this must mean. Rushing to the lookout courtyard, our heroes can only watch in horror as a giant flying saucer ruptures the cloud cover before coming to a stop on the ground below. Frieza has arrived, and by the feel of things, he is not alone.